Now, the American government is sending $700 million and more than 500 agents and support personnel to Mexico to stop the drug-related violence there. Let's speak now to Juan Hidalgo, who's the project coordinator for Latin America at the Cato Institute. He's there in our Washington studios. Very good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. It's interesting, the situation with Mexico. I mean, how close are we now to Mexico being a failed state, do you think?
I think we're far from that. I think that talking about Mexico being a failed state is an overstatement, but certainly the situation in Mexico is quite serious. Institutionally, Mexico is very weak, and we see that these powerful drug cartels are taking over large swaths of the country. So it is important that the United States pays attention to what's going on in Mexico.
I mean, the figures are staggering. You talk about drug smuggling. It's worth about $25 billion. That is the latest figure. Is that getting worse?
As long as there is consumption here in the United States, it's going to be a flow of drugs getting into the country. $25 billion is the estimate of how much it represents the drug business in Mexico. 150,000 people apparently work directly in the drug business. So when we hear the U.S. government claiming that it's going to spend $700 million to help the Mexican government battle these drug cartels, I don't think that's going to be enough to solve the problem.
So when we hear of these various crackdowns, you're quite skeptical.
Exactly. I think that legalization should be on the table as an alternative to the current situation. We have a 2,000-mile border between Mexico and the United States, a very porous border with lots of desert, mountains, rivers. And if hundreds of thousands of immigrants cross this border each year, it's going to be quite easy for powerful cartels like the ones we have in Mexico to smuggle drugs through the border.
And just describe for our audience here, because the Mexicans themselves have had a crackdown in recent months and years, and the gangs have reacted with extreme violence, haven't they?
Yes, 6,000 people at least died last year in drug-related violence. So far this year, more than 1,000 people have died. And the problem here is that we have several cartels, and they're not only fighting against the Mexican government, but they're also fighting between themselves. Whenever the Mexican government weakens one of these cartels, some of them move into the vacuum in order to fill it. So we have a very chaotic situation going on.
And it's interesting, the focus from the Americans, because a lot of the violence is spilling over into America, isn't it?
Phoenix right now is the capital of the United States when it comes to kidnappings, and we see a lot of violence also in border towns. That's why the United States is finally paying attention to the problem. Let's remember that last year during the presidential campaign, nobody talked about Mexico and the violence going on there, and now it's on top of the agenda of the Obama administration.
Just one sentence, will this strategy succeed or fail in your view?
I think it will fail.
Okay. Juan Carlos, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.